In today's video, I'm gonna show you how you can make a pink beanie in Blender, or any color you want, really. But we're gonna make it pink, of course. But first, I'm gonna tell you the story why the pink beanie became such a big part of my brand. But if you don't want to hear all that, just skip to the timestamp so you can start with the tutorial. If you're still watching, that means that you're interested in my beanie story. And it's a very interesting story, like for real. Super interesting. Or not. Anyway, since I'm a grown-up, I always wore a beanie because I always hated my hair because it's just too curly. It's straightened right now, but it's just too messy and I never liked my hair. So I always wore a beanie in my life, but it was always gray because my entire style was like gray and black. Then 2016, I had my friend over, his name is Simon, and we were in Berlin and we went to a hookah bar, and I figured, let's do something exciting. Let's just do what we call in German, it's a polnischer Abgang, basically a Polish escape. So you basically just leave without paying and try to not get caught, you know. So we did that. Not the proudest moment of my life, but we did that. We ran for it, and obviously we got caught, you know, and we had to pay like a fee or whatever. And then when we got to the subway station, I realized, damn, I lost my favorite beanie. I forgot it in the bar. You know, I was pretty sad for a while, and then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna get myself a new beanie, but I'm gonna get myself a pink beanie because pink was always the logo of my company. It was always the color of my brand. So I decided I'm gonna buy a pink beanie. This pink beanie. 2016, I bought this pink beanie, and that became part of my brand. And ever since I bought this beanie, I eventually got another one. This one, for example, was a gift. It even has my name on it. And after a while, I didn't like that one anymore, so I bought this one because I wanted like a longer beanie and I like the color better. And also this one here is handmade by a very good friend of mine from Europe. It's handmade. So that one is my favorite. Unfortunately, look at that. It has a burn mark in it because when I went to Costa Rica with my brother, he used that to dim the lights, and it was not a LED light, so it got pretty hot, so he burned my favorite beanie. But that's how it be sometimes. So yeah, that's basically the story of my beanie. And yeah, whenever you see me in public, I always wear this pink beanie so people know who I am, because I'm nothing without the pink beanie. So then I decided, hey, I've been working with Blender for like almost a year now, and it's time to make a pink beanie in 3D and see how that goes. So let's start with Blender. The pink beanie you saw in the beginning of the video was static. Now I want to make one dynamic, so we're gonna have a walking animation, and the pink beanie is gonna be attached to someone's head. So let's set that up first, and then we get started with the beanie. So I just imported a simple walking animation, a little funny looking one from Mixamo. If you want to know how to do that, you can look up this tutorial because I will go through the entire process how to implement animations from the internet into your own Blender scenes. That's what I just did, and I have this walking guy. And now the job is to put a pink beanie on his little head. So our animation is around 67 frames long. Okay, that's good to know. And now I just go to the very first frame, and I'm gonna stay there for now. And now I need to make a pink beanie. So I look at a beanie and check what it actually looks like. If it wasn't fluffy, it would be like a half sphere, I guess. That's what it looks like. So that's what I'm gonna start with. So I hit Shift A, mesh, go on UV sphere. Sweet. I isolate it, so now I can work only with that. So now it's just a sphere. I don't want it to be a sphere. I want it to be just half a sphere, or a little more than half, because I think a beanie goes together in the end, so it sticks better to a head. So here in edit mode, I switch to edit mode. I go to side view, and I delete all the faces until, like, let's say here. Delete that, delete faces. And that already is a pretty cool beanie. So now I can adjust it a little So I'm gonna make it a little longer. That means I'm gonna select those faces here, and I'm gonna use the portion editing, hit G, and make it a little longer towards the Z axis. Make sure to hit Z so it's only going up and down. Okay, that looks good. Maybe I'm gonna select this edge loop, make it a little tinier. How about this edge loop? Also shrink it a little. We're probably gonna need more subdivisions, but we're gonna see in a moment. I'm gonna go to physics properties and give it a cloth. Now we're just gonna see what it looks like. It's just gonna fall. Obviously not what we want. If you want to see what's actually happening, for now we're just gonna make it plain. Make it bigger. And on this plane, we just hit collision. And now we see actually what it's doing. So it's kind of stiff, but already gonna see it's already pretty good. But like I said before, we need to add subdivisions to it. So in edit mode, you're gonna select everything, right click and subdivide, and play it again. So we see already it has way more detail the way it falls. Okay, now we have to play around with the cloth simulation a little. Click on those cloth presets and then you have all these available. Silk works best for me. And then of course you can adjust those numbers as well, and we're gonna see if that's actually necessary. Okay, perfect. Now we need to bring that to our size we actually want it to be, because right now you can see the beanie is just the size of our human. Obviously we don't want that, so we scale it down and actually bring it to the right position. I'm gonna try to delete his hair, it might be easier. Now in edit mode I can adjust it so it's gonna be closer to his head. Just the edge loop here, shrink it down on the sides until kind of hits his head. Now if we play this, we're gonna see he's gonna be walking away and the bean is just gonna drop. Obviously not what we want. It just dropped to our plane here, because our plane is the only thing which has collision. So now we have to fix that. We have to give his head and I guess his hands also collision, and that's gonna bring us one step closer. So now we saw in the very beginning he just pushes it away because it doesn't stick to him. The next step is we have to make a vertex group. That means we can attach some of those vertices to our armature. We can parent only those. So that means, for example, I'm going to select all of these here, make another vertex group. You can do that on the green triangle here, hit on plus. This is our vertex group. We just call it pin beanie. There we go. And assign these vertices to this group. Okay, nothing happened yet, but if we go to our claw simulation under shape, select the vertices group we just made. It's not going to stick to our model yet, but we see that the assigned vertices just stick to in the ear now. So those are not moving, everything else is only moving. And that's a great start, but now we have to properly attach those vertices to our mesh. So now we can see when we parent our beanie to this bone here, Control P, parent it with a bone, then we get this result. And now you just have to play around with the settings a little, like the physical properties, stiffness and damping, until you have a result you like. And it's really depending on your scene, on how this beanie is really falling. This is really up to you. So play around with these settings until you get a result you like. So once you get a result you like, you can bake the simulation. You go under cache and start simulation, maybe like 10 frames before your animation actually starts, so -10, and our thing ends at 70. There we go. And now we bake the simulation. Now the computer renders for a second, and once it's done, the simulation is baked, so you can't change anything anymore. So if you want to change anything afterwards, you definitely need to delete the bake and do it again. So since I started the simulation before, on frame 1, it's already in the right position. So now when I play it, you can play it smoothly. So 67 is our last frame, so I'm going to change my frame range to frame 1 to 67. Now when I play it, it just starts over. And the cool thing about that is, you see how he's walking, it's flopping around. You wouldn't get that result if you just bake the claw simulation and then just froze it, then it wouldn't move around anymore. So that's pretty cool. Okay, now it's time to give it some material. And what I usually do is I have the Polyhaven plugin, and I can give it a material and adjust it, or you can make it from scratch. If I had to make it from scratch, and I gotta say I'm not like a material expert, I just give it a new material, call it Pink Beanie, and then I just can play around with those values. Let's start with the color. It has to be pink. Okay, that's pretty cool already. So now it's too shiny, because when I look at the beanie and like the reflections, it's not very shiny at all. So I go down with the specular almost completely. Roughness, I go up with the specular, but also up with the roughness, because when I look at it, it's not shiny, but it does take the highlights, so I try to simulate that. But if you want to make your life easier, go get Polyhaven. It's for free, and then you can just plug in a texture and you don't need to worry about most of this. So let's just delete all that and let's go to Polyhaven denim fabric. That looks pretty good. See, and now I didn't have to do anything. Now it's like a jeans kind of material, but that's not a problem. We can just adjust the color. I'm giving it a value node, because with the value, if we plug this into the scale, we can manipulate the size pretty easily. And instead of UV, we're gonna use object, see how that goes. Oh yeah, I like that. We make a camera so we can actually follow him. So Shift A, camera. Let's look here through the camera. We can adjust the angle the way we like it, like let's say like this. So in order to have the camera move with him, I'm just gonna make an empty. Shift A under empty. I'm just gonna make a cube, bring it to the position where our guy is. So now we're gonna go to the first frame where our guy starts. Select our empty. Go to our item. Under location, we just hit I. Go to the last frame when he stops moving, which is 67, and move our box to where our guy is. Now hit I again, hover over your graph editor, hit T linear, so it moves the same speed. Select your camera, then select the empty, Control P, parent, and now it moves the same speed like our guy. Now we can even, let's say we want a rotation. That goes a little deep in camera animation, but in case you want to do that, a little extra tip, go to the very first frame, hover over rotation, hit I, go to the last frame, and change the Z rotation to the other side. Now when we look through the Eevee viewport, then we can see it has colors and everything. That's pretty cool. And that's a very floppy beanie. Again, if you want it to be stiffer or not as stiff, you can adjust all those values until you get a result you like. But I feel like that's pretty cool for a first result. I like how it's flopping around. And then when you light this, work on those materials a little, it's gonna look like this. So I hope you liked my little tutorial and my little pink Beanie's story. If you enjoy my content, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you aren't already, and see you in the next video.